Welcome, gentle listener. I am Baldermort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and units of the Warhammer 40k universe, the grim darkness of the far future, where there is no time for peace, there is only time for war. I will ask your indulgence immediately, as this is what I call a bare-bones entry, something I am mostly loath to perform, but I am working on something I hope is rather special for the end of this week, if I'm swift and skilled enough. Also, if others can get their lines back to me in good order, so wish me luck. I can assure you, preparing a banquet is getting more tricky, as they are getting more complicated and have more moving parts, as some might say. So I hope you will forgive me this brief and basic one today. And so, as usual, for the very basics, let us lean on existing wisdom. To quote, CANIS WOLFBORN, the Feral Knight. In the ranks of HARALD DEATHWOLF's Wolf Guard, there exists one warrior more at home in the company of wolves than men. He prowls the corridors of the Fang, lupine shapes both great and small padding in his wake. There is something undeniably animalistic in his sure-footed gait, in his darting yellow eyes, and in the snarls and growls that pass for his speech. His name is CANIS WOLFBORN, and he is a lord of wolfkind just as surely as Grimnar is a lord of men. CANIS was first encountered by Yorick the Giant, a great warlord in the tribes of Fenris, who was chosen by the wolf priests. During Yorick's lone hunt, he tracked a pack of large Fenrisian wolves to a fissure in the Bladed Mountains, and lay in wait on top of their cave. He was about to pounce upon what he believed to be the alpha male of the pack, when a long-limbed human slammed into him, pitching him over the edge of the cave roof into the circle of wolves below. Yorick had a fleeting impression of wild eyes, blood-caked fingernails, and matted hair before he was thoroughly beaten into unconsciousness. Yorick eventually returned to the Fang, but not in the manner he had hoped. He was dragged by the heel across the wastelands by CANIS, who had tracked his footprints all the way back to the Fang. More peculiar still, the savage had an entire family of gigantic Fenrisian wolves in tow. CANIS and his pack reached the gates of the Fang and gave up such a great howling that the wolf lord HARALD DEATHWOLF came to investigate. After several abortive attempts to communicate, HARALD met CANIS's eyes and growled a challenge. The resultant duel was far more close fought than HARALD expected it to be, with each combatant pushed to the limits of their strength, but eventually, CANIS finally grudgingly acceded that he had finally come up against a greater predator than himself, and bared his throat to HARALD. Thus did he become the Deathwolf's packmate, and eventually, his champion. Since that day, CANIS has come into his birthright as a true warrior of Fenris. The wolf priests theorized that CANIS was lost in a snowstorm as an infant, abandoned after his nomadic tribe were killed in the wastes, and raised as a whelp by a brooding she-wolf, in whose lair the young CANIS sought shelter. His Wolfguard companions joke that CANIS was taken in as a cub because he was hairy and smelly, like a wet dog's backside. But underneath the jests, all respect the Fang Rider. His steel and courage are beyond question, and wolves great and small instinctively obey his commands. Even the largest Thunderwolf will avert its eyes from CANIS's gaze. In war, CANIS rides the largest of his kin into battle, a Thunderwolf named Fangir. What the crushing teeth and claws of his ferocious mount do not slay, CANIS himself dispatches with sweeps of his deadly wolf claws. It is well known that CANIS enters a terrible frenzy when battle is joined, and his feral rage has seen the Thunderwolf's champion fight his way clear many times after being seemingly hopelessly surrounded by foes. Loping in his wake, CANIS's lupine companions often follow him to battle to join the bloodshed, ripping and tearing at any that attempt to harm their alpha leader, and spurred to even greater savagery by his preternatural prowess. HARALD DEATHWOLF, Lord of the Wolfkin. HARALD DEATHWOLF rides to war atop his mighty Thunderwolf, Icetooth, with the howling hordes of Fenris at his back. His great company, the Deathwolves, is host to huge packs of beasts, from Fenrisian wolves to hulking thunder wolves. Harald Deathwolf has held the rank of Wolf Lord for over a century. Once a renowned warrior of Leif Snowfang's great company, Harald rose quickly to his lord's Wolfguard, and won many victories in life's name. Ever since Harald was a bloodclaw, he had an affinity for lupine creatures, and his packmates often joked that he was the offspring of a thunderwolf, earning him the nickname Thunderson. Life put to use Harald's kinship with wolves often in battle, and the Thunderson would lead packs of Fenrisian wolves, thunderwolves, and other feral creatures with a skill beyond anyone in living memory. When Leif Snowfang fell broken upon the battlefields of Rhaegar, slain by a lucky blow from the orc warboss Rockbad Necksnapper, it was Harald who rallied the warriors of his great company and led them to victory. On a field piled high with corpses of Rockbad's tribe, Harald was voted Wolf Lord amidst the cheers and howls of his kin. As the tale goes, in that moment, Harald looked up to the dim Rhaegar sun, shrouded by battle smoke, and proclaimed himself Deathwolf, and his totem the ravening jaw, the symbol of the wolf time. Harald Deathwolf's great company swelled with packs of wolves, and many of his chambers in the Fang are given over to dens and lairs. Wherever the Wolf Lord goes, loping packs of wolves will follow, always skulking in his shadow or lying at his feet. Such is Harald's affinity with wolf packs that he was able to best the feral warrior CANIS WOLFBORN and gain his submission, so that years later, after going through the transformance rituals, he emerged to become Harald's champion and the greatest of his warriors. The Wolfborn now fights at Deathwolf's side atop Fangir, the largest thunderwolf of his kind. Logan Grimnar himself calls upon Harald and his Deathwolves to hunt down the most hated of the Space Marine's foes. To be marked thus is a death sentence, for the company can track any scent, even through the most impassable terrain. Using stealth, speed, and fieldcraft, the Wolf Lord leads his charges in relentless pursuit, before launching his final strikes from unexpected quarters. The Deathwolves attack with unmatched ferocity, yet none more so than Harald himself. Shrouded from incoming fire by the mantle of the Troll King, Harald hurtles towards his prey, his ornate frost axe, Glacius, swiftly beheading all those who are not first mauled by the teeth and claws of Icetooth. End quote. Now I would love to tell you a tale of the wolves, their lives, and the place that these mighty warriors have inside this setting. But for that, we shall await the banquet I am trying to prepare for you. I don't want to be repetitive, nor show my hand too early. So thank you for your forbearance. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. I hope you've enjoyed this brief introduction to CANIS WOLFBORN and HARALD DEATHWOLF. If so, then please do consider liking and subscribing. And hopefully, later on this week, there would be something far better on your table. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.